Australia faces a cost of living crisis. Prices are soaring and families are struggling. At the heart of this crisis lies the Reserve Bank of Australia, or RBA. The RBA's inaction on interest rates has fueled inflation and left Australians struggling to make ends meet. For over 2 years, the RBA has kept interest rates at historic lows. This inaction came at a time when inflation was steadily rising, exceeding the RBA's target range. The RBA's inaction sent a clear message. Inflation was not a priority. The consequences of the RBA's inaction are evident across the Australian economy. The cost of essential goods and services, from groceries to fuel, has skyrocketed. Housing affordability has plummeted, pushing the dream of homeownership out of reach for many. The RBA's inaction has had a direct and devastating impact on the lives of everyday Australians. It has created a climate of uncertainty and anxiety. Businesses are hesitant to invest, fearing further economic turmoil. Consumers are cutting back on spending, further dampening economic activity. The RBA's inaction has cast a long shadow over the Australian economy, threatening to derail its recovery. While the RBA remained idle, the Australian government took decisive action to combat inflation. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, the government implemented a series of targeted measures designed to curb rising prices. One of the government's most impactful initiatives was the introduction of energy subsidies. By providing direct financial assistance to households struggling with rising energy costs, the government effectively alleviated a significant source of inflationary pressure. This direct intervention provided much-needed relief to families and individuals grappling with the rising cost of living. In addition to energy subsidies, the government implemented a range of fiscal policies aimed at curbing inflation. These policies, crafted with a focus on fiscal responsibility, helped to stabilize the economy and prevent inflation from spiraling out of control. The government's proactive approach provided a stark contrast to the RBA's inaction. The government's success in curbing inflation without the RBA's assistance underscores a critical point. Monetary policy is not the only tool available to manage inflation. By employing a combination of fiscal policy, targeted subsidies, and prudent economic management, the Australian government demonstrated that inflation can be effectively controlled even in the absence of interest rate hikes. The RBA had the tools to combat inflation. It could have raised interest rates. It could have tightened monetary policy. Yet, it chose to do nothing. The RBA's inaction is both baffling and inexcusable. One possible explanation for the RBA's inaction is its focus on global economic factors. The RBA has argued that global inflation trends, rather than domestic factors, are the primary drivers of inflation in Australia. However, this argument ignores the reality that Australia's inflation rate has consistently exceeded that of other developed nations. Another possible explanation for the RBA's inaction is its desire to support the banking sector. The RBA's low interest rate policy has boosted bank profits by encouraging borrowing and lending. However, this support has come at the expense of everyday Australians, who are now facing the consequences of the RBA's misguided priorities. The RBA's inaction has eroded public trust in the institution. The RBA's credibility has been called into question as Australians struggle to understand why the central bank has failed to act in the face of a growing economic crisis. The RBA's reputation as a responsible steward of the Australian economy has been tarnished. The RBA's inaction has had a profound impact on the Australian economy and the lives of everyday Australians. The central bank's failure to act has fueled inflation, eroded public trust, and created a climate of uncertainty. The road ahead for the Australian economy is uncertain. The RBA's recent hints at potential interest rate cuts have done little to inspire confidence. In fact, these hints have only added to the uncertainty, leaving businesses and consumers unsure of what to expect. The RBA faces a critical choice. It can continue down its current path of inaction, further eroding public trust and exacerbating the economic pain felt by Australians. Or it can take decisive action to address inflation, restore its credibility, and support the Australian economy. The time for excuses is over. The RBA must act now to address the crisis it has created. The The future of the Australian economy depends on it.